Visually impaired persons with disability in Malaysia, an overview. Introduction. As Malaysia aspires towards a more inclusive and equitable society, the needs of persons with disabilities, PWDs, particularly those who are visually impaired, must be addressed with clarity, urgency, and care. Vision impairment is one of the most challenging and least understood disabilities, affecting individuals across all ethnicities, regions, and income levels. This overview explores the current situation of visually impaired individuals in Malaysia as of 2023, highlighting statistics, challenges in education and employment, support mechanisms, and future strategies. Prevalence and demographics. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, there were 736,607 registered persons with disabilities in 2023, accounting for 2.2% of the total population. Among these, visual impairment constitutes 20.4%, making it the second largest category of registered disability after physical disabilities, 65.2%. While registration is voluntary and the real numbers may be higher, the 2.2% figure is the officially recognized benchmark. The prevalence of visual disability cuts across all states, but registration rates are often influenced by urban awareness levels, access to healthcare facilities, and socioeconomic conditions. It is also influenced by whether individuals consider registration worthwhile. Many do not due to stigma or lack of perceived benefit. Education. Obstacles to inclusion. For visually impaired Malaysians, access to education remains uneven despite significant policy efforts. Visually impaired children may face delays in early intervention due to late diagnoses. In primary and secondary schools, although some facilities exist for blind and partially sighted students, including Braille resources and special education teachers, they are not uniformly distributed across the country. At the tertiary level, challenges become more acute. A 2012 study documented how visually impaired undergraduates at Malaysian universities face architectural barriers, a lack of assistive technologies, and insufficient staff training. Course materials are often not available in accessible formats, and students must rely on peers or NGOs for transcription and guidance. The emotional toll of having to repeatedly advocate for themselves adds to the stress. Employment, the struggle for dignity and independence. Malaysia's Persons with Disabilities Act 2008 guarantees the right to employment for all PWDs, but implementation has been patchy. For visually impaired adults, finding meaningful, sustainable work remains difficult. Although the public sector has a 1% quota for employing PWDs, this is rarely fulfilled. A 2015 study focusing on 4 northern Malaysian states identified major employment barriers: employer prejudice, inaccessible office spaces, lack of assistive technologies, and poor public transport systems. Many visually impaired individuals are relegated to low-paying jobs in sheltered workshops or are self-employed in informal sectors with little security. Some successful initiatives, such as massage therapy training or IT support work for blind professionals, have gained ground, but they remain limited in scale and heavily reliant on NGO support. NASH supports structures and advocacy. Founded in 1986, the National Council for the Blind Malaysia, NCBM, is a key umbrella organization that supports blind Malaysians through education, vocational training, public advocacy, and resource provision. It coordinates 5 member agencies, including the Malaysian Association for the Blind, MAB, St. Nicholas Home Penang, and the Society of the Blind in Malaysia. NCBM has been pivotal in pushing for Braille literacy, cane travel training, job placements, and accessible ICT infrastructure. However, as funding is largely dependent on donations and government allocations, the scope of its outreach varies by region. Technology and accessibility. Malaysia has begun embracing assistive technologies to empower visually impaired individuals. Smartphone-based screen readers, OCR optical character recognition apps, talking GPS tools, and AI-driven description services are increasingly accessible, particularly in urban areas. Government digital inclusion policies now include some PWD provisions, but systemic adoption of accessibility standards in digital platforms, public websites, and e-learning portals remains inadequate. Path forward towards an inclusive Malaysia. To ensure the well-being and dignity of the visually impaired, Malaysia must address both structural and cultural barriers. The following are recommended strategies. 1. Strengthen data collection and policy integration. A comprehensive national registry of disabilities with annual updates would improve planning and resource allocation. Disability inclusion should be embedded in all national development plans. 2. Ensure equitable education access. Expand early screening programs, teacher training, and distribution of learning materials in Braille and digital accessible formats. Tertiary institutions should have disability support units with clear mandates and budgets. 3. Promote inclusive employment. Incentivize the private sector to hire visually impaired employees through tax benefits, training grants, and accessibility audits. Enforce the public sector's 1% PWD employment quota with transparency. 4. Upgrade infrastructure and public awareness. Retrofit public transport and buildings for navigation with tactile indicators and audio signals. Launch nationwide campaigns to reduce stigma, promote disability etiquette, and encourage inclusion from a young age. 5. Invest in assistive technology. Subsidize the cost of devices like screen readers, refreshable Braille displays, and AI tools. Encourage R&D partnerships with universities and tech startups for Malay language accessibility solutions. Conclusion. The inclusion of visually impaired Malaysians is a litmus test for the nation's commitment to human dignity, equality, and social justice. With 2.2% of the population registered as living with disabilities and over 150,000 estimated to be visually impaired, it is not a niche issue but a national imperative. By embracing inclusive education, accessible employment, and universal design principles, Malaysia can transform from a society that accommodates disability to one that anticipates it. Empowerment is not charity, it is justice. A heartfelt light. To every soul whose hand did give, you've helped me dream, helped me live. In darkest hours your light came through, with hearts so kind, so pure, so true. Your gifts, like stars in deepest night, have steered me gently toward the light. Each coin, each word, each silent prayer, a thread of hope, so rich, so rare. My eyes once dimmed, now seek the skies, and slowly, clearer visions rise. Because of you, I dare to see the world again. Its grace, its plea. Your compassion's flame will not just stay with me alone. It lights the way for others wandering through despair to feel the warmth of selfless care. You've shown what love in action means, in quiet ways through giving scenes. You've built a bridge from soul to soul and made the broken feel more whole. So let this thanks rise like a song, a melody both soft and strong. May your example gently call more hearts to rise to give. To fall into the joy of lifting pain, of planting hope where none remains. Your kindness walks beside me still, a light, a love, a living will.
forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support.